Yes.
Exactly. And today we're doing a deep dive into, well, a really big one. James Clear's Atomic Habits. It's
Mhm.
all about consistent improvement, right?
Yeah, it really is. And it hits home, I think, because everyone sort of struggles with this. We all want those big life changes.
Yeah, like becoming someone who exercises every day or finally writing that book.
Or learning a language, yeah. But we try to do it all at once and make these huge leaps overnight.
And it just feels like too much.
It's overwhelming. And honestly, most of the time it doesn't stick. You kind of set yourself up to fail.
Right. So our mission today is really to unpack Clear's framework for, well, getting out of that cycle.
Yeah, he argues pretty strongly that real lasting success doesn't come from those big dramatic efforts.
No, it comes from these tiny, almost invisible improvements done consistently. The whole atomic habit idea.
And what's really grabbed people, I think, and the sources point this out right away, is the math behind it. It shows just how powerful that small scale can be.
Okay, yeah, let's definitely start there because that calculation, um, it's kind of the hook, isn't it?
It really is.
Clear says habits are like compound interest, but for self-improvement. And if you improve by just, what, 1% every day?
Just 1% seems tiny.
Right. But compound that over a year, and you're not just a little better. He calculates you end up 37 times better.
Wait, say that again? 37 times.
37 times better from just a 1% daily improvement
Wow. Okay, that really puts it in perspective. It shows the massive difference between those small positive steps compounding for you.
versus just staying put, or worse, letting tiny negative things compound against you.
Exactly. And he draws that parallel. Atoms build matter, and these tiny atomic habits build, well, your success, your identity, even.
Okay, so if the math makes sense, let's get into the philosophy behind it. Because this is where Atomic Habits really shifts from maybe typical self-help thinking.
Right.
We usually focus on the goal, the outcome. But Clear points to something deeper. What's the big shift he talks about with identity?
It's fundamental. He says we need to move from focusing on outcome based goals to identity based habits.
Meaning,
Well, instead of saying, I'm going to do this thing to get that result, like, I'll meditate to feel less stress.
which is transactional, yeah.
Exactly, transactional. Instead, you start by defining who you want to be. You focus on the identity first. Your actions then flow from that identity.
So it's not, I want to read 50 books this year.
No.
It's, I am a reader.
Precisely. And when your habits are rooted in who you believe you are, they just feel natural, more automatic.
Like you're just doing what someone like you does.
Right. When you hit a choice point, the question isn't, ugh, do I feel like reading? It's, what would a reader do right now? Makes it way easier to follow through.
Okay, that feels much more sustainable. And this identity idea links right into the next big concept, which is focusing on systems, not goals.
Yes.
Now, hold on. Everyone sets goals. Goals give you direction. So why does Clear argue that focusing too much on the goal can actually backfire?
Well, it's a really interesting point he makes. Think about it. Winners and losers in sports or business or whatever,
Hmm.
they often have the exact same goals.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Every team wants to win the championship.
Exactly. So the goal itself is a differentiator. What is different is the system, the day in, day out process they stick to.
The routine, the practice, the habit.
That's the system. And Clear argues if you focus on refining that system, making it consistently good, the results, the goals, tend to take care of themselves. They become almost like a byproduct.
So obsess over the process, not the prize.
Kind of, yeah. If your system is solid, the score will eventually reflect it. If you have a big goal but a broken system, well, good luck.
Right? The goal's the destination, but the system's the engine you need to actually get there. Okay, so if the system is king, how do we build a good one? Let's get practical.
Yeah, this is where the book becomes a real toolkit. Clear gives us this very clear framework. The four laws of behavior change.
This is for building good habits, right?
Yes, it maps onto the natural cycle our brain goes through when forming any habit. There's a cue, then a craving, then a response, and finally, a reward.
Cue, craving, response, reward. Got it.
So, to build a good habit, you basically engineer each step. Law 1, make the cue obvious. Make the trigger impossible to miss.
Okay.
Law 2, make the craving attractive. You gotta want to do it. Associate it with something positive.
Makes sense.
Law 3, make the response easy. This one's huge. Reduce friction. Make the action itself require minimal effort.
The path of least resistance.
Exactly. And law 4, make the reward satisfying. Your brain needs that little hit of, yes, that was good, right away, even if it's small, to wire the habit in.
Obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. Simple framework.
Deceptively simple, but powerful.
Now, here's where it gets really useful for everyday life, I think. If that's how you build good habits, how do you break the bad ones using the same logic?
You just flip it. You invert the laws.
Invert them? How?
So, for a bad habit you want to ditch, you make the cue invisible, hide the trigger.
Okay.
Then, you make the craving unattractive. Focus on the downsides.
Right.
You make the response difficult. Add friction, make it harder to actually do the bad habit.
Put obstacles in the way.
Yes. And finally, you make the consequence, the outcome, unsatisfying. Make sure it doesn't feel good afterwards.
So if I'm always checking my phone, make the cue invisible, maybe hide the social media apps,
Perfect example. Move them off the home screen.
make the response difficult,
Mhm.
put the phone in another room while I'm working.
Exactly. You're adding friction. It's basically environmental design for your behavior.
Which brings us to that other big idea, right, about willpower.
Yes. The myth of willpower, almost.
We're always told, just try harder, find the motivation. Why does CLEAR push back against relying solely on willpower?
Because, well, it's just not reliable. Think of it like a muscle gets tired.
Decision fatigue.
That's it. Exactly. Every choice you make all day, big or small, drains that willpower battery. By evening, you're running on empty.
And you just default to whatever's easiest, usually the bad habit.
Precisely. So Claire's point, and it's a big one, is that your environment is almost always stronger than your willpower.
Whoa. Okay, so stop blaming myself for being lazy.
And start looking at your environment. Is it set up to make the good choices easy and the bad choices hard? Or the other way around?
That's a huge shift in perspective. We're trying to win a fight against a bad environment with sheer will, and that's a losing battle.
Often, yeah. It's much easier to change the environment, be the architect of your surroundings.
Okay, let's make that concrete. What are some killer examples from the sources about designing your environment?
Oh, they're super simple, which is why they work. Want to eat healthier. Don't rely on willpower when you're starving.
What do you do?
Make the good choice obvious and easy. Wash fruit, put it right there on the counter, visible, ready to
That's
grab.
a bad choice.
Make it invisible and difficult. Hide the junk food. Put it in an opaque container, maybe on a high shelf you need a chair to reach. You've added friction to the bad, removed it from the good.
I like that. What about, say, reading more?
Same principle. Don't just hope you'll remember at 10 p.m. when you're exhausted. Make the cue unmissable. Put the book right on your pillow in the morning when you go to bed. Bam, there it is. The cue is triggered. Friction is basically zero. You just have to pick it up.
It's about making the starting point effortless.
That's the core of it. Environmental design creates consistency. And that idea of making things easy leads right into the main practical strategies he offers. The real how-to.
Right, the toolkit part. Let's hit those two big ones.
Yeah.
First up, habit stacking. What's the deal with that?
Habit stacking is genius, really. It's about linking a new habit you want to form
Uh-huh.
directly onto an existing habit you already do automatically without even thinking about it.
Like what?
Brushing your teeth, making coffee, taking off your shoes when you get home, things you just do. The formula is basically after I current habit, I will new habit.
Okay. So if I always make coffee every morning,
Which is your existing automatic habit.
I could stack something onto it. Like, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence in my journal.
Perfect. The coffee making becomes the automatic trigger, the cue for journaling. No need to remember or decide when to do it. It just slots in.
Takes the decision fatigue out of it. Clever.
It creates this kind of chain reaction in your routine.
Okay.
And the second big strategy is habit tracking. This connects to that fourth law, make it satisfying.
Right, the visual progress thing,
Yeah.
like putting an X on a calendar, why is that so effective? Seems almost too simple.
It looks simple, but it hits multiple psychological buttons at once. First, yeah, it's a visual cue. Seeing the tracker reminds you to actually do the habit.
Okay.
Second, it's motivating. Once you get a chain of X's going, you really don't want to break it. That reinforces consistency.
The don't break the chain method.
Exactly. But maybe most importantly, each X you make is an immediate tiny reward. It's visual proof that you did it. It reinforces that identity. I am the kind of person who shows up.
So it provides that instant satisfaction the brain craves.
You see that little dopamine hit? Yeah. Makes the habit feel worthwhile right now, not just in the distant future.
It really seems like this shift from the big abstract ideas to these very concrete actionable techniques is why this stuff resonates with so many people.
I think so. And, bringing it all together, the sources do acknowledge a potential critique that maybe some of this feels a bit repetitive or maybe even basic if you're already super disciplined.
Right, I saw that mentioned.
But the consensus seems to be that this simplicity is actually its greatest strength. It's not overly complicated, it's clear, it's practical.
It's usable.
Exactly. It's structured in a way that almost anyone can apply it: student, CEO, artist, athlete. It kind of democratizes the process of getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big takeaway here isn't about finding some magic bullet or a quick fix.
Definitely not.
It's about methodically building a lifestyle,
Mhm.
designing your environment and routines so the good habits just happen
Yeah.
naturally,
Yeah.
and the bad ones,
Yeah.
they get engineered out.
It really teaches that transformation isn't an event, it's a process. It's the sum of those tiny atomic steps you take day after day.
Focus on the system, trust the process.
That's the heart of it. Worry less about the finish line and more about taking that next small step, that 1% improvement today.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into atomic habits. Some really powerful practical ideas there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we wrap up, here's something for you, our listener, to think about this week. A final provocative thought. Given that the core message is about focusing on the system over the goal, I want you to pinpoint one area in your life, and let's maybe skip fitness or reading. Those are
Yeah.
common ones. Think about maybe professional development or managing your finances, or even just carving out time for deep work.
Okay.
Where you have a big goal right now, but maybe you lack that really solid daily system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, think about just one law, make it easy. How could you apply that specific law to the most crucial action in that system right now? What's one tiny change you could make today to make starting that key action just 1% easier?
Just lowering that initial friction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How can you make the first step almost effortless? Mull that over. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.